Hey there, Samantha Garrett here, and today I'm going to show you my 5 favorite tips for searching more effectively in Google Drive. Now, I think Google Drive is a fantastic tool, but I hear so many people tell me that they struggle to find the things they need in Drive. So it's a really common complaint, and honestly, it only gets worse over time because the more stuff you have in Google Drive, the harder it can actually be to find what you are looking for. Now, the search in Drive is really powerful, but in order to utilize that power, you actually need to know how to use it effectively. And the biggest mistake so many people do is that they just open up the search box, pop in a word, push enter, and hope for the best, and then they get so many search results back, they can't actually find what they want. Now, before we jump in and I show you these tips, I want to explain why that actually happens. So when you just type something in the search box, maybe it's a keyword, maybe it's the keyword of cake, my favorite. You type that in the search box, you push enter. What actually happens is it's searching through everything. So when I say everything, I mean all of your files, all the files that have been shared with you, all the files that would be that are in shared drives if you're part of an organization, and also all the files across all time. So that's why you get so many results. Plus, not only is it searching for that keyword in the title of the file, it's searching the contents of the file as well. So you can imagine if I have a lot of files about cake, I'm going to have a lot of search results because it's looking through absolutely everything. So that's what you shouldn't do when you're searching Google Drive. Now, let's jump in now and look at the 5 things you can do to search more effectively. Alrighty, so we're going to start with perhaps my favorite tip, which is actually making use of the advanced search box. So how you can get to this in 2 ways, right? The way I like is up here, this little button we can click on here and it will open advanced search. Or if we click in the search box, we'll also see advanced search down the bottom here. So either. So I'm going to jump in through here and you'll see it will drop down this box. Now, you don't need to use every single field in this box. That's not what I'm getting at, but there are some that are really, really helpful. And if you use these, it will actually narrow down your search immediately. So rather than getting all of these results, it'll be a lot more tailored to what you're actually looking for. So I'm going to show you the couple that I find most helpful. So the first one is the type box here. So you can choose the type of file you're looking for. So generally we know, is it a spreadsheet, a document, PDF, whatever that might be. If you've got no idea, of course, don't use this, but generally we have some idea. So I could come in here and select documents, for example. Now, the next one is owner. This is particularly helpful if you're looking for files that are owned specifically by you or by a specific person. So you might be like, I know that Abigail shared this file with me and I definitely want to find it. I know she shared it. You could use specific person. However, this can have some implications in terms of whether the file is owned by someone or created by someone, depending on whether it's in their My Drive or a shared drive. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later. So just use this one with a little caution, at least until you've seen my other explanation later. Okay, so then we've got these 2 here. Includes the words and item name. There's a big difference between these 2. So let's come back to my previous example. I was talking about cake. So if I pop the word cake, the keyword cake, in the includes the words box, that means it's going to look for that keyword cake across the title and the body contents of the file. So we're going to have a lot more results, but it's super helpful if you've got no idea what the file is actually called. Now, if you do know what the file is called, then you could put a keyword in the item name. So even if you don't know exactly what it's called, if I know that it would have the word cake in the title, if I pop it in item name as opposed to includes the words, it's just going to look for that word in the name of file. So I'm going to get far fewer results. So I'm actually going to do that here and I'm going to narrow it down that way. Okay, so location. If you want to, you can use this to just search a particular location, whether that be just your My Drive, or it might be stuff in Shared with Me, or you can go into more locations and you can choose a shared drive, for example. So it may even be that you've got so many stars you need to search your starred, whatever that might be, you've got these options. Now, the other one I use, and the last one I'm going to show in here, is date modified. So what's super cool about this is that you can find files that have been recent, so it's been modified recently, for example. So if we come in anytime here, you can see that we can search, today, yesterday, etc., or a custom date range. So if you recall earlier, I said that when you do a search in Google Drive, it will search files across all time, whereas if you use this option, it will narrow that down. So quite often I'm using this, for example, the last 30 or 90 days to find recent stuff. Now, I did tell you that was the last thing I was going to show you, but I actually want to show something else. So forgive me, I told you a little fib. Down the bottom, the last option here, follow-ups, is also really cool because often what happens is we get a lot of email notifications that we've got action items in a document or comments in a document we need to respond to, and trying to find all those and keep on top of those can be quite crazy. So down here where we've got follow-ups, we can say that we just want to search for files that have comments assigned to you, or that have suggestions in them, or that have both of those, okay, any. So if you just want to quickly find all of those files that you've got to take action on, you can use this follow-ups. And you can use that without any other criteria, and it will just show you a list of files. So I love that one too. Now I'm going to pop a date modified on here as well. So I'm going to do a last 90 days. We'll click search and you'll see I have found none. So you're like, wow, this is actually like way too, way too refined. But that's okay because it's a convenient segue into my next tip for you. Tip number 2, which is around using search chips. So after you do a search, up the top here, you get these little things called search chips, which allow you to refine the search further. So I kind of think of them as a convenient way to fix up a bad search, which is this great example I've got here. So for example, I think there's something wrong with here is that the date, right? I obviously don't have any files with the name cake in the title after the 23rd of Jan. So I'm just going to click the little X here and take that out. Woohoo! And you'll see I've got a couple of results that come up. So this is a really quick and easy way to do that refined afterwards without having to go back into the advanced search box. Now, speaking of the advanced search box, you'll also notice up the top here in the regular search box that we've got advanced search operators. So this is kind of bringing some of the power of that advanced search box into just the search box here, right? So you can see type :document, title :cake. So that is a quick and easy way that I can do an advanced search without actually having to go into that search box. And the more you use search, the more you learn what these are. But of course, you can also view the Google Help topic on all of them, which I'll actually pop a link to in below this video because there's a whole lot of more search operators I'm not going to cover in this video. But you can definitely just start typing these in. And if we play around a little bit here, so if we go back to a last modified and we say last year, for example, I've still got my results, which is great, but you'll see what it's done is put some after and before operators up here with some dates. So you could do that and then you could customize these dates, for example. So that's just another way you can do that. Tip number 3, if you like, which is using those search operators. Now, I'm going to close out of this because I want to show you tip number 4. And quite conveniently, it just popped down, but that's okay. I'm going to show you from scratch. So tip number 4 is actually using that drop-down options here that come when you click in the search box. So I've just clicked in, I've not typed anything, but you'll see I've got a couple of shortcut options here. So I've got some people's names and I've got some file types. So these are the equivalent of the kind of the people option and the type option that we just played with in the advanced search box. So for example, if I click on Courtney here, it's going to change the top here in the search box to owner : Courtney and her email address. So there's another example of one of those search operators in the search box. And we'll see all the files that are owned by Courtney. So if we close that out, if we go back into this, if we were to do, for example, PDFs, you'll see type PDF, we'll see a whole lot of PDF files come up here. And again, of course, we've got our search tips that we can use. Now, I just want to jump back in. I'm going to do another one of those Courtney ones because I want to show you a related tip to this. This isn't quite tip 5, but think of it like tip 4.5. You know, I said earlier that when we are searching for files by people, we have to be aware of whether the people own the file or whether they just created them. So you can see these two here are actually owned by Courtney. And in terms of that, what that means is that she created them in her My Drive and she's actually shared them with me. So she's the owner of them. But if Courtney had created these files in a shared drive, she wouldn't be the owner of them, because in a shared drive, individuals don't own files, the shared drive does. So often we can get caught out with this because we're like, well, I know Courtney created it and she told me about it and it's her file, but I'm not seeing it in my search results. Yeah, that's possibly because it's in a shared drive. So I want to show you a little trick that is not available in any of the search boxes or anything like that, but you can type it in manually. So instead of using owner here, what we're going to do is we're going to use the creator search operator. Okay, so we're going to have creator : Courtney @ I'm going to push enter, and you'll see what happens now is that we've actually got 4 results. Now, Courtney created all of these 4 files, but you'll see 2 of them are actually owned by marketing, which is actually a shared drive. So hopefully that's helpful. I actually use creator more often than not when I don't know if something's in a shared drive or the person has it in their My Drive, because it's just a little bit more reliable in terms of finding something. Okay, so last tip for you. Tip number 5 is how you can identify where a file that you find via search is actually located. Now, you might be looking at this screen and be like, oh, it's pretty obvious, Samantha, there's like a location column over here. You're right. So there is a location column that will show you where that file is located. So here, for example, I know it's in a folder called copywriting. There are the other ones I know that are in shared with me. But there's a couple of things here. You don't see the full path to the file. I just know it's in copywriting, but I don't know where copywriting, like what folder's that in or what, etc. So I don't know the full path. Also, if I'm using grid view, this kind of view, to see my files, I actually can't see the path at all. Or I can't see any location, let alone the path, I should say. So what I want to show you is if you just select a search result, I'm not opening it, I'm just selecting it. Down the bottom here, it will show you where that file actually is. So in this case, it's just in shared with me. So remember that Courtney owns this file. So she might have it in a folder for sure, but if I don't have access to that folder, I won't see what it's called. For me, it's just in shared with me. But let's look at this one, for example. Now, this one's in a shared drive, and I can see down the bottom here, it says it's in marketing shared drive. It's in the ad campaigns folder. Now, if this was multi-levels down, I'd see all of those levels, and I can click on all of them from here as well. So just keep that in mind. You do have other ways to see a file's location and path other than just that location column. So there you have it. There's my 5 and a bit tips on how to search more effectively in Google Drive. Now, I'd love to hear which ones were new for you, which ones you might find helpful. You're welcome to drop me a comment below and let me know. And of course, if you did find this video helpful, I'd love you to give it a like, and perhaps you've got a colleague that needs to learn these tips as well. You're always welcome to share. So thanks so much for watching. I really hope that was helpful. See you next time.